let's try to help some people and talk pickups.
If you're in Roto, you're probably still asleep. Shallow pickup, Dylan Strome.
Yeah, 62% available, and we're at the juncture of the season where every pickup can't be sexy anymore. It can't always be the Logan Cooley or someone who's really exciting. Sometimes you just need someone who's boring and, more importantly, who plays 4 times, which the Washington Capitals do this week. And they have so much to play for. They're in this dogfight for a playoff spot, whether it's a wild card spot in the East or even that third rung in the Metro bracket, stealing it from the Philadelphia Flyers. It's kind of going to be back and forth between those two spots. And he's on the second line right now. It's been Connor McMichael playing up with Ovechkin, but Dylan Strome is the first line power play center. And when it comes to Ovechkin, that's the role that matters. Whether you're his first line center or his power play center, it's the power play center you really want to be. That's his bread and butter. Dylan Strome, 10 points in his last 7 games. And to me, just with the 4-game slate, he needs to be owned in every single league if you're still alive.
All right. I like that one. This one's still a personal favorite of mine that I love to see how good of a year he's having. Jonathan Drouin, everything he went through, and wasn't even clear if he was going to be an NHL player in the long run. To have this type of season he's had, he's been very valuable for me in fantasy. I like seeing him on this list.
Yeah, and he sort of emblemizes why you have to be reactive in fantasy. So at the beginning of the season, everybody was out, or maybe in the offseason. Then he signs. Oh, he could play with McKinnon. Everybody's in. Slow start. Everybody's out. Then catches fire for a long time. Everybody's in. Then he's off that top line. Everybody's out. And now he's back on the top line with Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen. He's got 14 points in his last 11 games. And to me, whenever he's on that line, we have to treat him as a top-end forward. He is probably going to have the best overall statistical line of his career by the time this season's done. He's already got 15 goals, 48 points in just over 70 games. Tremendous comeback year for Mr. Drouin. And again, to me, it's yes, his value is very line mate dependent, but every time he's on that line, you just have to adjust your expectations and treat him as a priority pickup.
It also kind of shows you how important those filters are on specifically the Yahoo app, where you can pick not just by the whole season stats, but you can look at the last 30 days and the last 14 days. And I would say, and because of how shallow my one league is, I would really kind of just look at the full season long thing. It's okay, these are the guys that, of the ones that are still left, these are the guys that have been just statistically better. But then you miss out on guys like Jonathan Drouin going out there and having these really good stretches where he's going to get you more points in a short span than Jake McCabe is, type thing. So
yes, and that's a good point, and that's going to come into play later, just only a few minutes from now when we talk about the WTF pickup. But that's a very important principle in terms of overlooking hot streaks and shorter samples. So we'll get to that, but let's do the deep league pickup next.
All right, and that is Dylan Guenther, obviously the Team Canada World Junior hero 2 years ago, and the Arizona Coyotes player.
Yes, at the mere mention of his name, our colleague Mike Gold, I think, just suddenly sat up in bed and didn't know why. Dylan Guenther, available 92% of leagues. And you look at the stat line, 12 goals, 24 points in 37 games, 82-game pace there would be 27 goals, 54 points, 206 shots for someone who hasn't even played a full season yet in the NHL. 6 goals, 12 points in his last 15 games. And we know Dylan Guenther was a great junior player, first-round pick, World Junior. He checks all those boxes in terms of prospect pedigree. We know he's going to be a very interesting goal scorer in the NHL. He's playing the point on the first power play unit. So just the overall role and opportunity he has over this final chunk of time in the season is pretty nice. And for a player that's available in that many leagues, there aren't many guys out there. If you're scouring the wire in a really deep league, and you're even just struggling to find someone who even gets power play time, well, Dylan Guenther is available in most leagues, and he's someone who has a really plum role, and he could easily give you 5 more goals between now and the end of the season.
Okay, I like that one a lot. And Nick Suzuki, actually, is funny. I was literally looking to pick him up about 15 minutes ago.
Yes, so he's the WTF pickup, available somehow in 27% of leagues. And this goes to the principle you're talking about, Steven. If you're in a more casual league where you're looking at surface stats, you might overlook someone like Suzuki, who's good. He's not an elite player, but his numbers have been good, except if you break down that sample. In the last 28 games, he's got 18 goals, 32 points. So in the last third of a season, give or take, he has been an elite fantasy player. And to me, he's actually reached a level I didn't know he necessarily had in him. I know he always projected to be a good two-way center. He's the captain, of course. He's a smart player. I thought he was going to kind of top out as maybe a 25-goal, 70-point guy. but he's showing a higher ceiling than I thought he had in him, especially anyone who's capable of scoring 18 goals in a 28 game stretch. It's not like that's a 5 game hot streak. That's a significant change in his ceiling. And there might be some guys with better overall numbers on the season who aren't producing as much. And I think you have to, in a shallow league, in any other league, Suzuki's going to be owned. But if you're in a shallow league like yours, Steven, I think you got to pounce on Nick Suzuki and treat him more like a top 30 player for the rest of the season.
I think Habs fans are, on one hand, they're pretty happy that Suzuki's having as good of a year as he is. On the other hand, are saying, please stop having as good of a year right now. It's so close, like the fifth, sixth, seventh in the draft lottery rankings, which you can see at dailyfaceoff.com, by the way. I feel like they probably just please start losing some games. Samuel Montembeault, stop being really good at what you do, and that's not going to work.